Okay, this is a American contractor. I'm gonna talk about what happened in Switzerland last week, and I've been studying this for a while, and especially when it happened, the day of that it happened last Friday, 1 week ago today, actually. So let's go into this. I'm gonna just tell you my comments and be real brief here. It won't be a long drawn out thing, but let's just get into it. Headline here is Switzerland hit by currency devaluation race. Now, let me give you some background on this. Back in 2010, the Euro central bank was wanting to keep their parity with the Swiss francs, kind of like 1-to-1. So Swiss francs central bank, which is called the SNP, the Swiss National Bank, said, okay, so in order for us to do this, we're going to have to peg it. They pegged their Swiss franc to the euro at 1.20. So they kept it like that for the last 4 years now, since 2010. Now, even though that the Swiss franc was more valuable than the euro, they still had to keep it at 1.20. And how they do that? They did that by pumping more into the money supply. They created more. They printed more Swiss francs to buy the euros, right? And put the euros in the reserve bank, the reserve account, and they started building up the reserves. Same thing what Iraq is doing, but we'll get in that in a little bit. But anyways, they decided they didn't want to do that no more, because what was happening is that the Swiss franc was a little bit more valuable. It kept on increasing in value, but they still pegged it at 1.20. Now, they got tired of that, said, look, we need to do something about our currency, because we can't keep piling up all these reserves in euros over here, because we keep printing more francs, which is increasing the money supply, and it's creating a lot of problems for them as far as exports and imports. So they decided to decouple themselves, separate themselves from the euro. And when they did that, the Swiss franc crashed down. I forgot what the percentage was, but it just crashed. And people started losing money because it took more francs to make the value of the franc, which created more, less value against the euro. So it took more francs to buy a euro to pay their bills in Switzerland, because most stuff that they buying over there is euros. Now, the S&Ps also give out a negative interest rate, a negative, I think it was 0.75. I mean, this is what it is, folks. If you put $100 in the bank, just say it was a negative 2%, and just keep it in round numbers, negative 2%. If you put $100 in the Swiss bank, at the end of the year, you'd have $98. You wouldn't have $102. You'd have $98 because it's a negative interest rate. That's what they have now in Switzerland. And they have to do that for a while now. I don't know how long they have to do that. I mean, I'm not an economist, but because they are trying to maintain what they got without losing their manufacturing base and stuff. Because what's happening is the Swiss bank, actually the Swiss watch, has been canceling orders or receiving canceled orders from all the people from around the world, because now that the Swiss watches are more expensive now, because the exports to the other countries, because their currency has deep pegged from the euro. Another thing too, you can't have a currency that's always fluctuating from day to day. You got to have a constant currency so people have faith in that. And it's about business. How can I do business with someone? Buy a product, say buy a car. It's going to cost me 1,000 euros. I'm just bear with me. 1,000 euros to buy this car. But if I wait 1 week, it's 1,100 euros to buy that car. See what I'm talking about? They can't have a currency fluctuating every single day, every week. They got to have a constant exchange rate every single day. It can't fluctuate. It can't fluctuate like that. It just doesn't make good business sense. Let me do something else here. I'm going to show you an interview. Now, people say the International Monetary Fund is is always in the know. They control everything. They control exchange rates. You have those gurus out there talking about the IMF's got to do this, the World Bank's got to do that. And I've been telling you for 8 years now that the International Monetary Fund has no control over a government per se, unless they have billions of dollars worth of loans. And guess what? The Iraq government's getting ready to do. Get a couple of $1 billion of loans from the IMF. Is that a good thing? I mean, I wouldn't do it if I was the government. I'd find other sources to get my money. I would never get any money from the International Monetary Fund as how they do business right now. It just doesn't make sense to me. There's other ways to get billions of dollars. But let's look at this interview.
Managing Director Christine Lagarde could only be said to be very interesting.
Now, this is Christine Lagarde. She's the IMF director. So let's listen to what she has to say about this Switzerland situation. Just bear with me, just about maybe 1 minute.
Times. Thank you for joining us, Madam Lagarde. Pleasure. I have to ask you about the news this morning. The Swiss National Bank lifting the floor, getting rid of the floor on the Swiss franc. Is that the right way to do policy? A surprise action by a central bank that rocks markets globally?
Well, clearly what is needed is cooperation, collaboration, communication. I've advocated that, and the IMF is very strongly supporting, for instance, the policy of Janet Yellen, who is communicating very clearly. This was a bit of a surprise. I would hope that it was communicated with other colleagues from central banks. I'm not sure.
I'm going to stop right there. See how she said that it was a bit of surprise? Now, those gurus out there says IMF's involved in everything. Well, she had no clue that the Swiss National Bank, was going to devalue their currency. I mean, no clue at all. We just listened to her. Look at her reaction. She's just dumbfounded. What happened? They didn't tell me? They didn't ask the IMF permission? Come on, folks. Don't listen to those gurus, especially that one dude that's just crazy.
And, I'm going to reserve judgment on the pertinence of that move because we have not discussed it with Governor Jordan. And I would certainly want to understand exactly where he's coming from. I think I understand why he's doing it, but talking about it would be good.
It begs the question, when you open up the IMF's webpage, it says that one of the things that you are responsible for is global exchange rate stability. Were you contacted about this? Did the IMF know this action was going to happen?
Governor Jordan did not contact me, which doesn't mean to say that he has not contacted somebody else in the organization. I find it a bit surprising that he did not contact me, but we'll check on that. By the way, the IMF used to be the referee of any currency variation. That has changed over time, clearly, with the floating rates that we're seeing in many, many advanced economies around the world. But still.
Understood.
Okay, I'm going to stop right there. Clearly, she had no clue that the Swiss National Bank, which is equivalent to the central bank of the country of Switzerland, had no clue, the IMF had no clue that they were going to do this. So it just goes to show you that the IMF has no control over different countries. If they want to do what they want to do, they are. Then let's go back to Iraq. Iraq had, 19, 20, 21 benchmarks that the IMF said that you need to accomplish. Did Iraq government do any of those benchmarks? If I'm going to bring them up in another video, I will. Just send me a note and I will send me an email and I'll bring that up. The answer to that is no, they did not. They maybe 4 of them, I think, maybe 5 at the most, and the other benchmark they just let them go. Iraq government did not do that, or the Central Bank of Iraq. So I'm just telling you that the IMF, yes, they do have some sway, but only if you have a loan from them. If you get underneath their thumb with a loan, IMF loan, then you're on the hook. They have leverage over you. But Iraq right now has no loan from the IMF, but they're getting ready to get one. Receive one, and it's not going to be. I mean, I wouldn't do it. Like I said, I would use other sources to get several $1 billion to cover their deficit or help with their deficit, but I would not get involved with the IMF. That's just me. But let's look at other countries that are. Let me show you something else. Let's look at some other countries that are countries as far flung as Thailand, Britain, Brazil, South Africa, India, and South Korea are threatening to join the devaluation race. So why? I thought, man, countries and the government are supposed to increase the value of their currency, not devalue their currency, right? So all those gurus keep saying, we want to increase the value of the currency. Folks, it's just not the way it works. But I hope you learned something here. Just I would study this Swiss situation a little bit more and figure out why the currencies, way they operate the way they do, and why the currency devaluation race, why they call this that, and look into it. The Swiss bank said, hey, I'm not going to be under control of another central bank. And that's what basically, and this other central bank I'm talking about is the ECB, European Central Bank. They don't want to be in control under them and have them dictated whatever they're supposed to be doing. So not only they had the IMF to deal with, they also had the ECB to deal with, and they just weren't going to do it no more. So kudos to them, Switzerland. It's they'd rather have their pain now than pain later, like the rest of the countries in the world. And they did the right thing for their people, and we'll just see how it works out. If you have any comments, this is the American Contractor, and thank you for watching.